Let's go Stowies. Okay, February 2nd, 2021. If you thought that things were slowing down in the baseball world, if you believed that, aside from Trevor Bauer, no other star player was going anywhere, with spring training beginning this month, pitchers and catchers reporting in just a couple weeks for the teams that have set dates. Keep in mind that Arizona, they got COVID hitting pretty hard in the county, the area where team facilities are located. Florida, it's a little more spread out, and it's Florida. But if you thought that, things were settling down, you and I were wrong. A trade of biblical proportions has transpired between the Colorado Rockies and the St. Louis Cardinals. You already know it was broken days ago, but took some time, some finalization, some paperwork to actually get approved, and as a result, a lot of the initial shock is worn down. But I'll try to give you at least a good analysis of this trade. You know what I'm talking about. Nolan Arenado going from the Rockies to the Cardinals, and in exchange, Colorado will receive 5 players, 1 big leaguer, that is left-hander Austin Gomber, and 4 prospects. This is a debacle for the Rockies. That's the only word I can think of here. Arenado was one of the cornerstones of this franchise, alongside outfielder Charlie Blackmon. Both players were second-round picks by Colorado, who developed through their system into all-star ball players. The Rockies had a nice little run with those two and more, of course. Back-to-back postseason berths in 2017 and 18, although October saw just 1 victory in those years. Still, things were optimistic. Both franchise players signed expensive extensions. Blackmon for 6 years, $108 million pre-2018, and Arenado 8 years, $260 million pre-2019. That deal made Arenado one of the most expensive players in baseball. For an organization that is far from MLB's richest or most established, that became too much to bear, especially after back-to-back losing seasons in 2019 and 2020. There was always a sense, however small, that the Rockies could not keep Arenado around. His value is too high. He was always going to demand more money either on his rookie contract, that obviously got the arbitration raises, and so teams sometimes just try to undercut that whole deal and sign players to extensions, like what happened with Ronald Acuna last winter. And other times they just kind of hold out and wait until the end, and then they're like, okay, we gotta trade this guy, which is what happened with the Cleveland Indians and Francisco Lindor, him getting traded in the final year of his entry-level contract, the final year of arbitration, where he made over $20 million, or about that much. He ended up getting traded to the Mets about a month ago, as you probably remember. So here we are, much like in late December, when the Chicago Cubs decided to cut financial losses short in exchange for some baseball losses, trading their most expensive player and all-world pitcher Yu Darvish to the San Diego Padres for a package of raw prospects. And I will be comparing that trade to this Arenado deal throughout the video for a few reasons. Because in both cases, you had an NL Central team and an NL West team dealing. One trade was a 1-for-5 deal. The other trade was a 2-for-5. And in both cases, Darvish and Arenado both have a few years left on their contracts. Well, Arenado more than a few, whereas Lindor was just a rental. And like with the Mookie Betts trade last winter, Mookie just had 1 year remaining, and the Dodgers happened to land an extension with him. Okay, so the Rockies under general manager Jeff Briddick and the ownership of the Monfort brothers, especially team president Charlie Monfort, have smashed the motherfucking reset button, trading one of the biggest names in baseball, arguably the most rounded third baseman in the game, in Nolan Arenado, to one of the league's more historic, successful clubs, the St. Louis Cardinals. Arenado has 6 years and $199 million left on his contract, of which the Rockies will compensate St. Louis for $50 million. So for St. Louis, it will be 6 years, $149, and actually that becomes a 7-year $164 million deal, as Arenado will receive an extra year at $15 million in salary in 2027 as part of this agreement. He's going to be a key part of the Cardinals for most of this decade. This is an organization, the Cardinals, that has produced a lot of talent over the past several years. And the Cards have not shied away from trying to build up on top of that foundation, like after the 2018 season when they acquired elite first baseman Paul Goldschmidt from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Once again, the Cardinals are poaching the NL West's smaller, poorer franchises for top-shelf talent because the overall results of what they have at the moment have not quite been enough. They've kind of been decent, just above average. Quick breakdown of Arenado. 8 seasons, 8 gold gloves. Yeah. 4 silver sluggers, 4-time All-Star, highly decorated. His career slash is .293, .349, .541. Excellent in all departments. But there's always a caveat with the Rockies players: home-away splits. And Arenado's career slash on the road is .263, .322, .471, and OPS just under 800. Hey, those are good numbers, okay? Arenado is a good hitter. He has power, but is it anything like he does at Coors Field? No. And that aspect of his game, the offense, will be put to the test. And you could even look at his career OPS plus until this point, because that does adjust for ballpark, and it's at 120, and it's never been below 100 other than his rookie year and 2020. His only 2, I guess, bad seasons. So, bottom line, Arenado is a well above average hitter. He's just not as phenomenal as the initial numbers might indicate. And, of course, defensively, come on, he's 6th in defensive WAR among active players. He's won the Platinum Glove. Best defensive third baseman in baseball? I think so. So with this move, Arenado will, become the Cardinals' primary third baseman. That bumps Matt Carpenter to 2nd, I guess, with Tommy Edman making a potential platoon there. And finally, finance. Cardinals team payroll is $184 million, which is high but workable, with about $26 million below the luxury tax threshold. They will have Arenado and Goldschmidt making well over $50 million a year for the next 4 years. So a lot to show and prove for St. Louis. They got to be hoping for a World Series title. That's what they're trying to do. They look loaded, but got to deliver. Okay, how did the Rockies do with this monumental teardown? Okay, so left-hander Austin Gomber is the lone major leaguer they acquire. He followed up a tough rookie campaign with a great 2020, although a career walk rate over 10% is worrisome, especially because he's walked a lot in both his seasons. Gomber was a swingman in St. Louis, but he could probably make the back of the Rocks rotation. He's also on a contract through 2025, so a good depth pitcher, I would say. On to the prospects. They're getting 4 of them. 2 hitters, 2 pitchers. Wisconsin righty Jake Somers was the only one to land outside of the Cardinals' top 30. He's a 23-year-old drafted in the 10th round out of college, so he only has 1 year of minor league experience, and not a very high ceiling predicted at the moment. Shortstop / third baseman Mateo Gil was ranked 22nd in the organization. He's a 20-year-old from the same town as Arenado, Newport Beach, California, believe it or not. Gil, good glove and contact skills, could be a low-end regular, if not more, with an ETA of 2022. Right-handed pitcher Tony Losey, 22-year-old from Georgia, ranked 19th among Cardinals prospects. Big body, get 6'3", 239, power pitcher, fastball pushing up the 90s to 100 maybe as he develops. Secondary pitchers and command will need to improve if Losey wants to be a starter, with a good shot to be a late inning reliever with what he has, ETA 2022. And third baseman Elehuris Montero, 22-year-old Dominican, formerly ranked in the top 100 and currently, or most recently, 8th in the card system. A strong, quick-handed hitter who strikes out a lot. Could be a solid piece for the middle of the lineup. Defense is iffy, but the arm strength is there to play third. And while I did mention his patience, he has raw power. ETA 2021, really, which is this year, could even replace Arenado as their third baseman. Obviously, his offense is his main calling card. Overall, compared to what the Cubs got for Darvish, the Rockies did receive players they can use now or next year and beyond. No blue chip prospects, but this was not a full rebuild type move where the players acquired are teenagers not ready until 2024. And even the one major league that they're getting, Austin Gomber, they have him under team control for a while. He's early in his career. Remember, the Cubs got Zach Davies to sort of replace Darvish in the rotation, and he's a rental. He's a free agent after 2021. So in that case, I wouldn't call this deal a disaster. Arenado wasn't trade rumors for years. He was never affordable to the Rockies. It wasn't like, Darvish was signed by the Cubs as a free agent, and there was a sense that this was a team trying to compete. This was a team that had star power, that was looking at, had World Series aspirations. The Rockies were always in an awkward spot where they were blessed with really good talent that came up through their system, like Arenado and Blackmon, but they were never really going to muster up the resources to put out like a World Series contender. Even back in 2007 when they did make the World Series, people forget that Rockies NL pennant 2007, Matt Holiday season. That was a team that was also built on homegrown talent mixed with sort of the more underrated players that they managed to pick up and just good contributors. So, I feel like the Rockies could have gotten a better deal, with the fact Colorado has to cover some of Arenado's salary. But you might see a couple of the 5 players acquired crack their roster and make an impact. We'll have to see how these guys develop. Of course, it's difficult to judge a trade right off the jump, and it's really hard to make a big name trade like this. Like when you're an MLB team, any pro sports team, and you decide to trade like a marquee player, a franchise player, it's so difficult to get a return that's going to be immediately acceptable to the fan base, and that's going to look good right from the get-go. Because generally speaking, you're trading for prospect, and in this case, none of these guys are like top prospects, so that stings a little bit. But we have to see how this develops. And really, it was just a tough situation for the Rockies. This does bring down their payroll to $127 million, which is around league average, a little bit higher maybe. I don't know if the Rockies would really plan to compete. Like if they use this money that they managed to unload and they start getting some depth, and if they really like Montero and Losi, then yeah, okay. But I don't know. The NL West is so top heavy. Generally speaking, in their short franchise history, the Rockies have not been super aggressive with trying to build a winner, as with some 90s expansion teams. And the question now is, are they going to trade Charlie Blackmon in the 3 years, $55 million left on the veteran outfielder's contract? Are they going to go full rebuild, or are they going to try to retool with the money freed up by trading Arenado, get some depth, get some pitching? I don't know. Well, as for the Cardinals, this is a W. I mean, you get a very high-level player in the prime of his career for now. They're committed to win, and the NL Central is wide open for them to do that. The talent's on the roster, although it hasn't always come together for St. Louis. They are a pretty well-rounded teams in terms of pitching versus hitting, or youth and veterans. Fairly good balance, and now there just remains a lot to prove for Arenado, the Cardinals, and the rest of that team. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little bummed out because as a Cubs fan, obviously, I don't like to see this, but that's what you got.